Yes. Chapter 29. Nearly a week later, I showed up at Adrian's door. We had not had classes since the attack, but our normal curfew hours were still in effect. And it was almost bedtime. Adrian's face registered complete and total shock when he saw me. It was the first time I could ever sort him out, rather than vice versa. Little Dampier, he said, stepping aside. Come in. I did, and was nearly overwhelmed by the smell of the alcohol as I passed him. The academic's guest housing was nice, but he clearly had not done much to keep his suit clean. I had a feeling he could probably been drinking non-stop since the attack. The TV was on, and a small table by the couch held a half-empty bottle of vodka. I picked it up and read the label. It was in Russian. Bedtime? I asked, sitting it back down. Never a bad time for you. He told me gallantly. His face looked haggard. He was still as good looking as ever, but there were dark circles under his eyes like he had not been sleeping well. He waved me towards the armchair and sat down on the couch. I have not seen you much of you. I leaned back. I have not wanted to be seen, I admitted. I have hardly spoken to anyone since the attack. I have spent a lot of time by myself or with Lisa. I took comfort from being around her, but we had not said much. She understood that I needed to process things and had simply been there for me, not pushing me on the things I don't want to talk about, even though there was a dozen things she wanted to ask. The academics dead had been honored in one group memorial service, although their families had made arrangements for each person's respective funeral. I had gone to the large service. The chapel had been packed with standing room only. Father Andrew had read the names of the dead, listing Drummond and Molly among them. No one was talking about what had really happened to them. There was too much other grief anyway. We were drowning in it. No one ever knew how the academic pick up the pieces and start running again. You look worse than I do, I told Adrian. I don't think that was possible. He brought the bottle to his lips and took a long drink. No, you always look good. As for me, well, it is hard to explain. The auroras are getting to me. There is so much Sarah around here. You cannot even begin to understand. It radiates from everyone to spiritual level. It is overwhelming. It makes your dark aurora downright cheerful. Is that why you're drinking? Yeah, it is Shut Up Aurora version right off. Thankfully, so I cannot give you a report today. He offered me the bottle and I shook my head. He searched and took another drink. So, what can I do for you, Rose? I had a feeling you are not here to check on me. He was right, and I only felt a little bad about what I was here for. I could done a lot of things this last week. Processing my grief for Manson had been hard. In fact, I had not even really quite resolved it was the ghost business had started. No, I had to mourn all over again. After all, more than Drummond had been lost. Teachers had died, guardians and Mora alike. None of the close friends had died, but people I knew from classes had. They could be in students of the academics as long as I had, and it was weird to think I had never see them again. That was a lot of loss to deal with, a lot of people to say goodbye to, but Drummond, he was a different case. After all, how did you say goodbye to someone who was not exactly gone? That was a problem. I need money. I told Adrian, not bothering to with persistence. He arched an eyebrow. Unexpected. From you, at least. I get that kind of request a lot from others. Pray tell, what could I be funding? I glanced away from him, focusing on the television. It was a commercial for some kind of deodorant. I'm leaving the academic, I said finally. Also, unexpected. You're only a few months out for graduation. I met his eyes. It does not matter. I have things to do now. I never figured you could be one of the dropout guardians. You're going to join the Blood Horse? No, I said. Of course not. Don't act so offended. That is not an unreasonable assumption. If you're not going to be a guardian, what else are you going to do? I told you I have things I have to take care of. He arched an eyebrow. Things that are going to get you into trouble? I searched. He laughed. Stupid question, huh? Everything you do will get in trouble. He propped his elbow up the couch arm and rested his chin in his hand. Why could you come to me for money? Because you have it. This also made him laugh. And why do you think I will give it to you? I don't say anything. I just looked at him, forcing as much womanly charm as I could into my expression. His smile went away, and his green eyes narrowed in frustration. He jerked his gaze away. Damn it, Rose, don't do that, not now. You're playing on how I feel about you. That's not fair. He gulped more vodka. He was right. I could come to him because I thought I could use his crush to get what I wanted. It was slow, but I had no choice. Getting up, I moved over and sat beside him. I held his hand. Please, Adrian. I said, please help me. You're the only one I can go to. That's not fair, he repeated, slurring his words a little. You're using those come hit her eyes on me. But it is not me you want. It has never have been me. It has always been beloved, and God only knows what you will do now that he is gone. He was right about that too. Will you help me? I asked, still playing my the charism. You're the only one I could talk to. The only one who really understands me. Are you coming back? He countered, eventually. Tipping his head back, he exhaled heavy breath. His hair, which I could always thought looked stylishly messy, simply looked messed today. Maybe it is for the best if you leave. Maybe you will get over him faster if you go away for a while. Could not hurt to be away from Lisa Aurora either. It might slow yours from darkening. Stop this rage you always seems to be in. You need to be happier and stop seeing ghosts. My seduction fluttered for a moment. Lisa is not why I'm saying ghostess. Well, she is, but not in the way you think. I see the ghostess because I'm shadowkissed. I'm tired the world of the dead, and the more I kill, the strongest the connection become. It is why I see the dead and why I feel weird when Strigoi are near. I can sense them now. They are tried to the world too. He frowned. You're saying the auroras mean nothing? That you're not taking away the effects of spirits? No, that is happening too. That is why this has all been so confusing. I thought they were just one thing going on, but they have been two. I see ghosts because of being shadowkissed. I'm getting upset and angry, bad, even because I'm taking away Lisa's dark side. That is why my aurora is darkening, why I'm getting so enraged lately. Right now, I just sort of plays out as really bad temper. I frowned, thinking of the night Drummond had stopped me from going after Jess. But I don't know what I will turn into next. Adrian sighed. Why is everything so complicated with you? Will you help me? Please, Adrian. I ran my fingers along his hand. Please, help me. Low, low. This was so low of me, but it don't matter. Only Drummond did. Finally, Adrian looked back at me. For the first time ever, he looked vulnerable. When you can come back, will you give me a fast shot? I hide my surprise. What do you mean? It's like I said, we have never wanted me, never even considered me. The flowers, the floating, it rolled right off of you. You were so gone for him and nobody noticed. If you go do your thing, will you take me seriously? Will you give me a chance when you return? I started. I definitely had not expected this. My initial instruction was to say no, that I could never love anybody again, that my heart had been shattered along with the pieces of my soul that Drummond held. But Adrian was looking at me so earnestly, and there was none of his joking nature. He meant what he said, and I realized all the affection for me he could always teased about had not been a joke either. Lisa had been right about his feelings. Will you? He repeated. God only knows what you will do now that he is gone. Of course. Not an honest answer, but a necessary one. Adrian looked away and drank more vodka. There was not much effect. When are you leaving? Tomorrow. Setting the bottle down, he stood up and walked off into the bedroom. He turned with a large stack of cash. I wondered if he kept it under his bed or something. He handed it to me wordlessly, and he picked up the phone and made some calls. The sun was up, and the human world, which hardest, most Morai Money was also up and awake. I tried to watch TV while he talked, but I could not concentrate. I kept wanting to scratch the back of my neck because there was no way of knowing exactly how many Strigoi I and the others have killed. We could all been given a different kind of tattoo instead of the usual set of monster marks. I could forgotten its names, but this tattoo looked like a little star. It meant that the barrier had been a battle and killed many Strigoi. When he finally finished his calls, Adrian handed me a piece of paper. It had been names and address of a bank in Mosula. Go there, he said. I'm guessing you have to go to Mosula first anyway. If you are actually going on to anywhere civilized, there are accounts set up for you with a lot of money in it. Talk to them and they will finish the paperwork with you. I stood up and stuffed the bills in my jacket. Thank you, I said. Without hesitating, I reached out and hugged him. The scent of vodka was overpowering, but I felt I owed him. I was taking advantage of his feelings for me in order to further my own devices. He put his arms around me and held me for several seconds before letting go. I brushed my lips against his cheeks as we broke apart, and I thought he might stop breathing. I won't forget this, I murmured in his ear. I don't suppose you will tell me where you're going, he asked. No, I said. I'm sorry. Just keep your promise and come back. I don't actually use the word promise, I pointed out. He smiled and pressed a kiss to my forehead. You're right. I'm going to miss you, little champion. Be careful. If you ever need anything, let me know. I will be waiting for you. I thanked him again and left, not bothering to tell him he might be waiting a long time. There was a very real possibility that I might not be coming back. The next day, I got up early, long before most of the campus was awake. I hardly slept. I slung a bag over my shoulder and walked over to the main office in the administrative building. The office was not open yet either, so I sat down on the floor in the hallway outside of it. Studying my hands as I waited, I noticed two tiny flakes of gold on my thumbnails. They were the only reminders of my manicure. About 20 minutes later, the secretary showed up with the keys and let me in. What can I do for you? She asked. Once she was seated at her desk, I handed her a stack of papers I have been holding. I'm withdrawing. Her eyes wandered to impossible size. But what? You cannot. I tapped the stack. I can. It's all filled out. Still gasping, she muttered something to me about waiting, and then, secure out of the room, a few minutes later, she returned with Headmaster Kirova. Kirova had apparently been briefed and was looking at me very disapprovingly down her beak-like nose. Miss Hathaway, what is the meaning of this? I'm leaving, I said, quitting, dropping out, whatever. You cannot do that, she said. Well, obviously I can. Since you guys keep withdrawal paper in the library, it's all filled out the way it needed to be. Her anger changed into something sadder and more noxious. I know a lot has gone on lately. We are all having trouble adjusting. But that is not the reason to make a hasty decision. If anything, we need you more than ever. She was almost pleading, hard to believe she wanted to expel me 6 months ago. That was not hasty, I said. I thought a lot about it. Let me at least get your mother so we can talk this out. She left for Europe 3 days ago. Not that it matters anyway. I pointed to the line of the top from that side, date of birth. I'm 18 today. She cannot do anything anymore. This is my choice. Now, will you stamp the form or you will actually going to try to restrain me? Pretty sure I could take you in a fight, Kirava. They stamped my packet, not happily. The secretary made a copy of the official paper that declared I was no longer a student at Sten Baltimore Academics. I could needed it to get out of the main gate. It was a long walk to the front of the school, and the western sky was red as the sun slipped over the horizon. The weather had warmed up, even at the night. Spring had finally come. It made for good walking weather since I had a way to go before I made it to the highway. For there, I could hit hike to Missoula. Hitchhiking was not safe, but the silver streak in my coat made me feel pretty secure about anything I could face. No one had taken it away from me after the ride, and it could work just as well against creepy humans as it did with Strigoi. I could just make out the gates when I sensed her, Lisa. I stopped walking and turned towards a cluster of bud covered trees. She could be standing in them, perfectly still, and had managed to hide her thoughts so well that I had not realized she was practically right next to me. Her hair and eyes glowed in the sunset, and she seems too beautiful and too ethereal to be the part of this dreary landscape. Hey, I said, hey. She wrapped her arm around herself, cold even in her coat. More, I don't have the same resistance to the temperature changes that dampened it. What I found warm and spring like was still chilly to her. I know it, she said. Ever since that day they said his body was gone, something told me you could do this. I was just waiting. Can you read my mind now? I asked ruefully. No, I can just read you. Finally, I cannot believe how blind I was. I cannot believe I never noticed Victor's comment. He was right. She glanced off at the sunset, then turned her gaze back to me. A flash of anger, both in her feelings and her eyes, hit me. Why don't you tell me? She cried. Why don't you tell me you loved Rimmet? I stuttered. I could not remember the last time Lisa had yelled at anyone. Maybe last fall, when all the Victor insanity had gone down. Loud doubts were my thing. Loud outbursts were my thing, not hers. Even when torturing Jess, her voice had been deadly quiet. I could not tell anyone. I said, I'm your best friend, Rose. We have been through everything together. Do you really think I could have told? I could have kept it a secret. I looked at the ground. I know you could have. I don't know. I could not talk about it. Not even to you. I cannot explain it. How? She grouped of the questions her mind had already formed. How serious was it? It was just you or it was both of us. I told her. He felt the same, but we know we could not be together, not with our age, and well, not when we supposed to be protecting you. Lisa frowned. What do you mean? Drummond always said that if we were involved, we could worry more about protecting each other than you. We could not do that. Guilt crossed through her at the thought that she could be responsible for keeping us apart. It is not your fault, I said quickly. Surely there must have been a way. It could not have been a problem. I searched, unwilling to think about or mention our last kiss in the forest, back when Rimet and I had thought we could figure out a solution to all of our problems. I don't know, I said. We just try to stay apart. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it don't. Her mind was tumble of emotion. She felt sorry for me, but at the same time she was mad. You should have told me, she repeated. I feel like you don't trust me. Of course I trust you. Is that why you are sneaking off? That has nothing to do with trust, I admitted. It is me. Well, I don't want to tell you. I could not bear to tell you I was leaving or explain why. I already know, she said. I figured it out. How? I asked. Lisa was full of surprises today. I was there last fall when we took that van into Mosla. The shopping trip, you and Rimet were talking about Srikoi, about how becoming one makes you something twisted and evil, and how it destroys the person you used to be and make you do horrible things. And I heard she had trouble saying it. I had trouble hearing it, and my eyes grew wet. The memory was too harsh, thinking of sitting with him the day back when we were first falling in love. Lisa swallowed and continued, I hear you both say you could rather die than become a monster like that. Silence fell between us. The wind picked up and blew our hair around, dark and light. I have to do this, Liz. I have to do it for him. No, she said firmly. You don't have to. You don't promise him anything. Not in words. No, but you don't understand. I understand that you are trying to cope and that this is a way as any. You need to find another way to let him go. I shook my head. I have to do this. Even if it means leaving me? The way she said it, the way she looked at me, oh God, a flood of memories flitted through my mind. We have been together since childhood, inseparable, bound, and yet Dreamt and I had been connected to. Damn it, I've never wanted to have to choose between them. I have to do this. I said it again. I'm sorry. You're supposed to be my guardian and go with me to college, she argued. You're shadow kissed. We're supposed to be together if you leave me. The ugly coil of darkness was starting to raise its head in my chest. My voice was tight when I spoke. If I leave you, they will get you another guardian. Two of them. You're the last Dragamorai. They will keep you safe. But they won't be you, Rose, she said. Those luminous green eyes held mine, and the anger in me cooled. She was so beautiful, so sweet, and she seemed so reasonable. She was right. I owed it to her. I needed to stop it. I yelled, turning away. She had been using her magic. Don't use compulsion on me. You're my friend. Friends don't use their powers on each other. Friend does not abandon each other, she snapped back. If you're my friend, you could not do it. I spun back towards her, careful not to look too closely into her eyes, in case she tried compassion on me again. The rage in me exploded. It is not about you, okay? This time it is about me, not you. All my life, Lisa, all my life, it has been the same. They come first. I have lived my life for you. I have tried to be your shadow. But you know what? I want to come first. I need to take care of myself for once. I tried for off. I'm tired of looking out of everyone else and having to put aside what I want. Dream and I did that, and look what happened. He's gone. I will never hold him again. Now I owe it to him to do this. I'm sorry it hurts you, but it is my choice. I shouted the words, not even passing for a breath, and I hoped my voice had not carried to the guardians on the duty at the gate. Lisa was staring at me, shocked and hurt. Tears ran down her cheeks, and part of me shriveled up at the hurting the person I could sworn to protect. You love him more than me, she said in a small voice, sounding very young. He needs me right now. I need you. He is gone, Rose. No, I said, but he will be soon. I reached up my sleeves and took off the chocolate she had given me for the Christmas. I held it out to her. She hesitated and then took it. What is this for? She asked. I cannot wear it. It is for a Dragmaroy guardian. I will make it again when I had almost said if not when. I think she know that when I get back. Her hands closed around the beads. Please, Rose, please don't leave me. I'm sorry, I said. There were no other words to offer up. I'm sorry. I left her there crying as I walked towards the gate. A piece of my soul had died when Drummond had fallen. Turning my back on her now, I felt another piece die as well. Soon there would not be anything left inside of me. The guardians at the gate were as shocked as the secretary and Kirova had been, but there was nothing they could do. Happy birthday to me, I thought bitterly. 18 at last. It was nothing like I had expected. They opened the gates and I stepped through, outside of the school's grounds and over the wards. The lines were invisible, but I felt strangely vulnerable and exposed, as if I could leapt a great chasm, and yet at the same time I felt free and in control. I started walking down the narrow road. The sun was nearly gone. I could have to rely on the moonlight soon. When I was out of the earshot of the guardians, I stopped and spoke. Manson. I had to wait a long time. When he appeared, I could barely see him at all. He was almost completely transparent. It is time, is not it? You're going. You're finally moving on to. Well, I had no clue where he was moving on to. I don't know anymore what lay beyond, whether it was remains Father Andrew believed it or some entirely different world that I could visit it. Nothing less, Manson understood and nodded. It has been more than 40 days. Amused. So I guess you're overdue. I'm glad. I hope you find peace. Although I kind of hoped you could be able to lead me to him. Manson shook his head, and he don't need to say a word for me to understand what he wanted to tell me. You're on your own, Rose. It's okay. You deserve your rest. Besides, I think I know where to start looking. I could thought about his constantly over the last week. If Dreamed was where I believed he was, I had a lot of work ahead of me. Manson's help could have been nice, but I could not want to keep him bothering him. It seems like he had enough to deal with. Goodbye, I told him. Thanks for your help. I I will miss you. His form grew fainter and fainter, and just before I went altogether, I saw the hint of a smile, the laughing and mischievous smile I could love so much for the first time since his death. Thinking about Manson no longer devastated me. I was sad and I really could miss him, but I know he could move on to something good, something really good. I could no longer feel guilty. Turning away, I started at the long road winding off ahead of me. I signed. This trip might take a while, then start walking Rose. I muttered to myself. I set off to kill the man. I laughed. As always, I can never express enough gratitude